and welcome to Sales B12. This is the 10-minute dose of sales you don't want to miss. I'm Karen Kopp. People know me as the Chief Door Opener, and I'm here with the famous Jack Daly, who is the sales guru worldwide, and we're here to share content with you on high payoff activities. Where should you be spending your time? Jack, I've seen you speak so many times, and just the other day, people scratching notes as fast as they could possibly scratch them. And one of the points that you hammer home all the time is to make sure that you're spending your time on high payoff activities. So I'm wondering if you could define that for everybody and give a couple of examples.
Yeah, so thanks for that. It was great seeing you in DC the other day when I spoke. You know what? The first thing that I tell people is you need to define what a seller's job is. Now, I'm going to define it very narrow, and if you want, you can go and expand it. But for Jack Daly, a salesperson's job is to win new customers and or grow the ones they have. Mm-hmm. When you put it in that context, what that means is high payoff activities are anything that helps you achieve that. Let's do it another way. Anything that you're doing as a salesperson that doesn't help you achieve that is not a high payoff activity. Now, when we go into companies and we try to figure out how the salesperson's spending their time, most of the time what we find is more than 50% of a salesperson's time is spent on things that are not winning new customers or growing the ones they have. And you know, the other day while you were in the same room with me, I gave the example that I love taking on the challenge of you can't get to the decision maker. It's in my DNA to just take on that challenge. Now, if you have a salesperson that is wired that way, why would you then ask me every day to update my contact management system? I'm not suggesting that updating a contact management system isn't a necessary part of selling. It is, and I really believe in that. But don't task me with that. There are sellers that are good getting to the decision maker and would prefer that they do the updating of their contact management system because they're very comfortable with a keyboard or whatever it is they're using with that software. I'm not comfortable with the keyboard and the software. Well, once you understand that about me, then don't make me do the things that I'm not very good at. I only have a certain amount of hours. I want to spend them on winning new customers and growing the ones they have. Now, I'm sorry that I'm doing a plug here, but I wrote the book on the sales playbook, and this is a textbook. And if I were to open it up to page number 8, we've got a sales HPA's checklist right in the book, and we've got some 30 different bullet points on whether it's an important HPA, whether you're doing it, whether you're not doing it well, are you doing it well? And I'm just going to pick some of these off here. Networking, externally, internally, prospecting, calling cold, calling warm, developing centers of influence, what I call swim coaches, conferences and trade shows, demos and sampling, cross-selling, upselling, selling to consensus buy-in, problem solving, closing, pipeline management. All of those types of things are candidates for HPAs. So as a salesperson, if we think about having 40 to 60 hours a week to dedicate to our craft, we want to make sure that we're in that arena of the things that will win new customers or grow the ones you have.
Well said. So what does someone do? Because this happens a lot of times in sales where the sales manager will come in and ask the salesperson to create a report that will take the salesperson off the phones, off the HPAs for 2 to 3 hours at a shot. What do you say to that salesperson? How do they unload those non-HPAs?
Karen, what a wonderful question. And it's a wonderful question because the lion's share of the things that are non-HPAs that are on the plate of a salesperson, we find came from the leadership team, yes, from the ownership. They were told to do those things, even if it wasn't in the best interest of sales, revenue, profits, and company. Well, when I have salespeople, like I did on Monday in St. Louis, when I have salespeople in a room for 4 hours and the leadership is sitting there with them, I tell the guys all about HPAs, and I tell them, I need you to go back to your leaders and say, did you not hear Jack Daly? We need to be in the HPA column, and don't have me doing these things. Push back on the leaders. I'm not saying to be antagonistic. I'm saying in a joint way, say, what are the most important things that we should be working on? Here's the way I like to say it when I'm in front of an audience. There's things that need to be done in sales, but not necessarily done by the salesperson, right? So here's my solution. You can get somebody else in the company to do it other than me. If I use the example of updating my contact management system and I'm a major hunter, then get someone else that's very adept at the computer to update my contact management system with everything that I'm doing out there while I'm in the field. Or you can contract with someone outside the company to do it. Or, and this is one of my personal favorites, just stop doing it and watch your revenue line grow. So that's where I come from. Now, wait a second. I don't want to leave you out of this thing. I may use different terms, and I've seen you enough to know that you talk about non-revenue generating N's and revenue generating activities R's. Talk to us about the door opener and what you do with your guys.
Right. So one of the things that I recommend, not just to our people, but to our clients as well, is to track time over a 2-week increment in increments of quarter hours. And that's annoying. I get it, but have a piece of paper next to you and track time and what you're doing. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, take a look at each of these activities and put an N next to anything that's a non-revenue generating activity, and an R next to anything that's a revenue generating activity. So just slightly different terms that Jack and I are using, but they mean the same things. And then add it up. How much N do you have? How much R do you have? And one of those metrics that we had talked about in a different episode that's so important for sales is what % of your time is spent on revenue generating activities. Because if you want more R, you have to do less N. And so that may mean pushing back on your sales manager when the sales manager says, oh, you're really great in sales. I want you to train somebody who's really struggling. Well, that takes time away from the person who's really great in sales. Get a sales coach, get somebody to help coach that other salesperson to level up their activities, and then leave your great salesperson to spend more time on R. So revenue generating activities versus non-revenue generating activities, and spend more time on R. And you know what happens, Jack, when people do that and they present the N's and the R's to management, and I've led sessions like this, management is shocked at how much time people are spending on non-revenue generating activities, and they didn't know it. So it's a real blind spot for leadership that this exercise will bring to light.
Hey, Karen, one of the reasons that I like doing these types of things with you is I'm the kind of the guy that's almost can be accused of the theory or the professor, because I don't have salespeople. I don't have a company any longer. I had previous life, but not now. You have one. So you're dealing with this exact issue. You have door openers. You have sellers that you have responsibility for in your firm. What's it like when they push you back? How do you create the environment, the healthy environment for them to feel comfortable pushing you back, and how do you deal with it?
Well, that's a great question. So the first thing is, when we're asking people to do various activities or responsibilities, we are doing that with an eye on, is it an R or an N? So we're not asking people in the first place to spend time on N if their job is R. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, it's an open conversation. If I'm giving somebody something that's going to cause them to spend 2 to 3 hours off the phones when I need them on the phones, they can push back on me. I highly recommend it. I may not even realize. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. This is not as important as you spending 3 hours on the phone. Get that done. Like one of the things that happens with the door opener service, like we're getting our clients these big meetings, we are on the meetings with our clients when it's a virtual meeting. And then we watch what they do afterwards to make sure that they're effective in getting the follow-up meeting, meeting number 3, meeting number 4, the proposals, and we're paying attention to all that. So the clients sometimes lean on the door openers because our people are so senior for that kind of help. One of the things that we're watching is, and we measure it in our time tracking system, how much time are they spending over time following up with the client, pushing them to do the right kind of follow-up, effective follow-up, helping them to know what the next steps are versus outreach. And if that time steals time from outreach, there's a conversation that has to happen with the client because it's going to affect results.
You know, I know why we're doing what we're doing here, and we're not recruiting. I certainly am not. I don't want anybody employed in my company, but knowing what I know about so many companies and what they have their salespeople doing, if sellers are watching this right now, they're probably going, hey, that sounds like a good place for me to work. She's not giving me anything other than things that are going to make me money.
You know what? Let's take that one step further, because one of the things that our door openers like so much about working here is that I don't ask them to create a prospect list. Think of how much wasted time that is for the senior level seller who's phenomenal at conversation, who can open up all these new doors. Why would a leader have that person looking up an email address? We don't do it that way.
Hey, you just described exactly how I describe why my clients should entertain working with you. I mean, that's exactly what I say. If our guys are so good at getting the deal to the finish line, but they're spending 80% of their time prospecting, let somebody else do that and let's go to the finish line, right?
Right. So we can feed them with the new meetings with the exact right executives, and then they could take it home all day long and do what they're really good at doing, where they should be spending their time. Absolutely. What else do we have to tell people?
You know what? You've heard me speak, you know, at least 20 times. I think in the area of HPAs, I think what we just did is nailed it. We just need the listener to go back into their company and take a serious exercise and do it.
That's right. Well, we thank you everybody for joining us for this episode of Sales B12. Tune in for the next one. Bye, everybody.